And we are live from the Glen. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Finger Lakes region as the green flag comes out. Nathan Rue dropping the hammer, and we are underway to start the Bud at the Glen 41 for the Die Hard Racing Series. Tony Trapasso up in the booth, joined with me by Frank Marchese. Sam Cooper Bennett's on cameras tonight. Thanks, Sam. As green flag's out, Frank.
Yes, it is. And Nathan Rue with the quick getaway away from Chandler Rubik, who's in that number 15 Motorcraft Ford, who started second. Chuck Sweeting has actually gone and taken the second position. Gil Gawk fighting now with Rubik. And I do want to apologize for the issues that we had early. Some internet issues on my part kind of delayed the start of this broadcast, so I do apologize for that. Tony, our home track here at Watkins Glen. You're a lot closer to it than I am.
Absolutely. As the car's just going through the carousel, and one thing you might have noticed, there's no bus stop. This is the classic layout, being as they're the 87 Cup cars, and they didn't start running the bus stop till 91. And that was when J.D. McDuffie, unfortunately, lost his life at the track in a fatal crash going into the carousel, which is why we now have the bus stop in the modern day races. As Johnson under heavy pressure from Rubik right now as they go through the turn one area. That is probably your closest battle on the track right now, as Nathan Rue and Chuck Sweeting are just flat checked out.
Yeah, that is the closest battle on track, at least as far as going up front. Nathan Rue and, as you mentioned, yes, Chuck Sweeting. Also, worth noting, there are a lot of heavy hitters. Dale Robertson not here this evening. Corey Brown making it just as qualifying was getting underway. He was a late entry. Seth Schultz is not here as well. So there are a lot of heavy hitters, and Nathan Rue is the standout here as what many would call the runaway favorite. However, Chuck Sweeting in that number 54 is staying right on him, Tony.
Yeah, your current points leader, Sweeting, sitting comfortably in second place, as right now there is a gaggle of cars from about seventh back, starting with Gil Gawk, and just throw a blanket over the rest of the field behind Gawk as they're trying to get this track sorted out. And you and I were discussing earlier that this track is so much fun when you do figure it out, but if you're struggling, this track's a nightmare.
Yeah, it is. It is a very it's not necessarily a difficult track, but in cars that are like this to handle, as difficult as these are to handle, it makes it a very, very difficult track.
Well, I mean, let's call it like we see it. These cars are, almost 3,700 pounds, and they don't like to turn. So they're on bias ply tires. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with what it is, your normal passenger car has what they call a radial tire. It's a very firm feeling ride. You can feel the road. You know exactly what's going on. Bias ply tires aren't like that. The bias ply tires, they have a mind of their own, and the tire doesn't transfer as much feeling into the car as the modern day tires do.
Yeah, it is. And these tires, as you mentioned, there are only, as pliable as they are, there's only 3 sets tonight. Now, it's a 41-lap race. We're just starting lap 4 of this event. There are only 3 set of tires, so there's only 3 times that these guys can come in and change them. I believe you said it was a two-stop race here, but tires really should not be too big a concern, because the NASCAR Legends official iRace series is here this week, and that's 20 laps. So you're running essentially 2 of those Legends races plus 1 lap.
Right, and in that particular race, I believe they give you 2 sets, so they shouldn't have too much of an issue with tires here tonight, unless they just burn all the goodie off the compound.
Yeah, and the grip will certainly become a factor here later on in the race. Not missing anything up front, Nathan Rue leads Chuck Sweeting by 2 seconds as these guys, 1.2 seconds, as they are about to, Rue is going through the last corner right now to start the 5th lap of 41. After that, it's a little bit of a wait before you get back to Chandler Rubik in the 15, who has Randall Falks right on him. And Jeremy Johnston must have made a mistake because he was right up there with Chandler Rubik and Randall Falks, and now he's a good 5 seconds off the pair. As we continue on here, Jeremy Johnston running in the 5th position. That's where he started.
Biggest mover. I hit the right button. Sorry. Yeah, Johnston got it all wrong coming through the carousel last lap.
Oh, that would certainly explain it. The biggest mover of the race so far is the 51 of Randall Falks. Now, 2 weeks ago, back at Michigan, Randall Falks came out on top. Has another top 10 run coming, a 5 run at least, going on here as he enters the second to last corners, trying to put a little bit of a gap on Chandler Rubik as he made the pass for 3rd.
Absolutely. Not sure what's going on with Falk. He missed qualifying, and that's kind of surprising considering that he was one of only 2 cars to put it into the 112s in the hot lap session. So he's got to be kicking himself right now for letting that opportunity get away from him.
Another guy who had a very quick time during practice was the number 82 of James Collins. As there's a wreck happening here. Gwen Havens in the 22. And the final corner.
Got into it with Vic Jennings.
Yeah, as 2 of them were coming into the final corner. Oh, the 22 put the right rear wheel on the grass. And if you watch any form of road racing, you know the grass doesn't necessarily have as much grip as the asphalt does.
Yeah, definitely not. And you can tell that these guys are running a ton of rear brake bias to try to get these cars to start to rotate, and it looked like the 22 just over-rotated on corner entry there.
Going back up to the front, going back to James Collins, as I had mentioned, he's in that number 82 Pepsi machine, making a move in the second to last corner here, getting around Kevin Turkett. As I mentioned, he was one of the guys that put in, he didn't hit a 112, he hit a 113.2, which was enough to put him in the top 5. He did not make qualifying either, Tony.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys that sat out qualifying, and I'm not sure exactly why, as Corey Brown starting to put some pressure on Turkett right now as they go through the first turn there, and now up through the S's.
Yeah, the Energizer Bunny certainly trying to put some energy into that car. Missed practice, came in about halfway through qualifying. We were talking in our original open when we thought we were on air, how we thought he wasn't going to be here. He was on the list of heavy hitters that was not a part of the race, but here he is, currently sitting in the 10th position as they go around the number 23 of Marcus Wilkie, who is a lap down, trying to put a move on Kevin Turkett for the 9th spot, as Turkett might let him go here going into the penultimate corner, Tony.
It looks like Turkett's not going to have a choice, as Corey Brown just full send it.
He does look like he has a very good car in front of him. But I want to turn attention really quick back up to the lead. Now, last we left these two was about 4 or 5 laps ago.
Oh, wow.
Chuck Sweeting was a 1.5 seconds behind. He has now pulled a second back on Nathan Rue. So last week's winner is putting on a charge for the lead here as we go through the carousel.
Yeah, Sweeting giving Rue all he really wants right now. I know, Rue was kind of hoping to kind of have an easy one, but Chuck Sweeting is not making it anything but easy. And if you look in the background as they head into the penultimate corner there, that's Randall Falks. So
Yeah,
he can see these guys on some of the parts of the track.
Yeah, he is coming, and he's left Rubik Chandler and Jeremy Johnston behind him. He's still 5 seconds. Pardon me. He's still 5 seconds off of Chuck Sweeting, who currently sits in second, but he is gaining. He just put a half a second in on both Chuck Sweeting and Nathan Rue that last lap. He goes sailing wide through turn 1, and he's put about 6 seconds on that group of Rubik and Johnston. So Fox looks like we were thinking it was going to be a one-horse race up at the front with Nathan Rue, but fortunately, Chuck Sweeting and Randall Fox, fortunately for entertainment's sake, Sweeting and Fox are making a race out of this for us.
Absolutely, and there's battles going on throughout the field right now. As a matter of fact, the Soda Wagons are starting to do battle as Corey Brown is reeling in James Collins as they shoot down the back straightaway. So it's Pepsi versus Coke, and neither one of them laid down a qualifying time, so both of them are doing a marvelous job making the way through the field like they are.
And to mention those guys who did not set a qualifying time, Randall Falks running in third did not set a qualifying time. Tommy Harris in the 8 is currently sitting in the 6th position. I'm not sure if we've seen Harris so far this year. He did not lay down a qualifying time, running now in 5th as he gets around Jeremy Johnston. And then 8th, 9th, and 10th of James Collins, Corey Brown, and Kevin Turkett did not lay down qualifying times either. Brown and Turkett not setting practice times, even as the field has gotten spread out. And Tony, it has been quite a clean race. I mean, we had the incident with the 22 and the 11, but other than that, it's been smooth sailing with these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing you kind of expect to see on a road course is the cars are going to get spread out. As Sweeting putting a lot of pressure on Rue right now at the front of this field. As they're getting ready to start lap 11. Nathan Rue cannot be a happy camper right now. I think when he saw what was going on in practice, he thought, yeah, this one's in the bag, but Chuck Sweeting has found a ton of speed in that car.
I was just going to say, it was the last time they crossed the line, Sweeting was 3/4 of a second behind him. Something must have happened to Rue that Sweeting got right up on that bumper before even getting through the carousel. So he's found speed somewhere in the S's that it looks like Rue just has not found yet.
Well, it might possibly be too. And we've seen this happen in previous weeks. Nathan Rue has a good short run car.
Yeah.
Not so much once you get a few laps under his belt. The tire fall off on the 25 is usually way higher than a lot of the other cars. And I think that's really what we're seeing. As I took a look at Rue's last few laps, and he was high 16s, low 17s, whereas Chuck Sweeting has been mid to high 16s consistently, and then Randall Falk is high 15s, low 16s around this place, and that's why he's reeling them in, because Falk and Sweeting didn't burn the tires off as quickly as Nathan Rue appeared to have.
Oh, and Fox actually goes off going through turn 1, just locked the car up.
Well, that answers the question I was asking you during the pre-race was, do you think iRacing put brake fade into this? And that looked like exactly what that was. It was just pure brake fade. Go to reach for the binders, and they're not there.
Yeah, no, he got woed up for the corner. It was just like right as he was about to accelerate off, the back end kicked out, and Fox was as close to the front two as third place has been since the start of this race. And now, unfortunately, he's got all that work to do again unfortunately, on more worn tires, Tony.
Absolutely, and with the track temperature right now showing at 117 degrees, as
23 of Wilkie off course.
Yeah, that's the one corner that it's easy to way overcook it, as Wilkie just letting him go. You're talking about a track that's abrasive to begin with, because the Central New York winters are not kind to this place. And you've got a track temperature that is enough to actually cook coffee on. This is not a good combination if you don't know how to manage your tires.
Yeah, no, and these cars are not good if you don't know how to manage your tires. As we start seeing back at the front, Nathan Rue starting to pull away again from Chuck Sweeting, so maybe a little bit of an all-out effort for Sweeting, just maybe trying to test what the older tires can do for later in the race.
Well, it's either that or Nathan Rue got a heat cycle into his tires, which, I've seen stranger things happen, but
It's the 17 of John Schultz, who was having a time of it going through the final corner. The 22 of Gwen Havens in front of him. And those two just nothing to do with each other, just a little bit of a misstep from the 17 going through the last corner, overshot it, and then came back down the track.
Yeah, but both those cars look like they've been through a war, as the leader's starting to bear down on them.
Yeah, Nathan Rue is right there. I would not be surprised if going into the carousel that Nathan Rue will have at least put the 17 a lap down, as there's Schultz pulling over and allowing the 25 to go through.
Ooh.
A little bit of a wiggle there from the 25 going into the carousel. Now you have to brake a lot sooner in these cars than you think to get into the carousel, because Tony, as you mentioned, these cars do not want to turn whatsoever.
Right.
So
the braking zone to go into that carousel is actually the start of the bus stop. When you get to the opening for the first part of the bus stop is where you want to really start jumping on the binders to make the carousel safely.
Yeah, it's all about getting into a routine and managing a rhythm, and the first part of doing that is finding your braking zones. And certainly the toughest braking zones around here are turn one, since you've got gravity working against you going downhill into turn one, and then that carousel, because these guys are not used to running this circuit without the bus stop chicane. Like right around now, you would have seen these guys start to brake and then make the right-hand turn into the carousel. I think Victor Jennings, from what I'm hearing from Tony, has had an issue. And he's just in front of the leader, not too far away in front of the leader, and he didn't quite stop for the carousel. He went straight onto the carousel, and he's off again. That's at the penultimate corner. So I don't know if you want to classify that as brake fade or brake failure, Tony, but certainly something going on with the 11 is now he's finally started to get it rolling here, just one corner away from pit lane. As see some more cars trying to get around him, as you see, you saw there. Corey Brown has gotten past James Collins in the 82. Gil Gawk is just in front of these guys. Jeremy Johnston is leading this pack. Now, Jeremy Johnston right now is 8 seconds behind the 8 of Tommy Harris, who currently occupies the 5th spot. And these guys right now, this Johnston, Gawk, Brown, and Collins little group here, those guys are sitting 26 seconds behind the race leader, Nathan Rue, who's going through the second to last corner right now, with Jeremy Johnston just going into the carousel.
That is just a huge lead that Rue has. I mean, and if you take a look at what he's got right now, as that's 5 bus lengths that he's got on Sweeting.
Yeah.
And then you've got to go back another 4 seconds till you get to Randall Falks. These guys are getting it, and I can't stress how difficult it actually is. Actually, I'll tell you what, if we can get the guys in the truck, I believe we were able to get the GoPro on Randall Falk's helmet before this went green. Is there any chance we can do that?
So we got the gyro cam on Randall Falks right now. Want you to pay attention to the wheel, especially on exit when he starts to get out of these corners, and listen to the tack as to how he's working the gears and how much he's got to work this wheel, turning right to go left, and he's actually off here as Randall Falks.
Yeah, that right there is attributed to how much rear brake bias you have to run in these cars to get them to turn. And he's saying no mas. He's going in for 4 Mr. Feelgoods and a fresh tank of go-go juice, and going to see what he can do after that.
I was just about to mention that before you had called for the in-car cam on Fox's. We're close to halfway here. We're working on lap 18. This is a 41-lap race, so to split the race in half for that pit stop, it coming up, and it is coming up very soon. And as you mentioned, Falks, and we saw Falks going into the pits. As we could have imagined, Victor Jennings is in the pits as well, and so is the 75 of Jeremy Johnston. He's in the pits as well here, Tony.
Yeah, so we're seeing the early takers, and those are the guys that, they probably weren't happy with their setup. The setup Falk had in was working. So right now he's just got to turn laps and try to, make up as much ground as he can so that when Rue and Sweeting go in, he can at least put a battle up.
And this is a standard Formula One strategy known as the undercut that Randall Falks is trying to work on Rue and Sweeting. One thing I did notice, Tony, of the 3 guys we saw in pit lane there, Falks, Johnston, and Jennings, all 3 of them have had multiple offs. So that could definitely have played a factor in those guys deciding to come in now.
Yeah, because, when you're getting offs like that, you kind of have to judge, okay, have I burned the tires completely off? And apparently Randall Falk said yes, Jennings said yes, and they decided they needed to get them changed, and we're back underway. So
Gil Gawk, another taker into pit road. John Schultz is in. The 82 of James Collins in pit lane as well. That's the 11 of Victor Jennings in between those two, still in pit lane. So pit stops are coming, and as you would expect, it's right around halfway here, splitting this race in half as Nathan Rue crossed the line to start lap 20.
Rue starting lap 20, and you gotta wonder, how bad have he and Chuck Sweeting just completely burned their tires? Because they have just set a pace that no one else seems to be able to match other than Randall Falk, because they're just steady pulling away from Chandler Rubik right now.
They are, and I think James Collins might have actually had a penalty because he was sitting there for a while, and just now the left sides go up, and now the right side's going up on the 82 of James Collins, and he was, I believe, ahead
Speeding in.
of Gil Gawk and Chuck Sweeting, as you just said.
Speeding in on
speeding in. Oh, I thought you said Sweeting in. My apologies.
No. Speeding in.
I was going to say, the Sweeting's in the carousel, and I'm live. What am I missing? Oh, man. It's going to be coming close here, because now Rue is taking halfway. Sweeting is right behind him, not in pit lane. The 15 of Chandler Rubick, I think, got picked by Bruce Pearson there if he did want to come in. Pearson had taken the inside line out of the final corner, so the 15 couldn't go in if he wanted to there. Right now, the first car that came into pit, who is out on track right now, is Randall Falks, and that's the 22 of Gwen Havens, cutting across to the outside part of the track. I wonder what's going on with Havens. Our producer's telling us that he went too far in to that penultimate corner, and upon further review, he was 100% right.
Did it.
So Havens now working his way up the S's. He is one lap down. Only two cars that have pit, that are on the lead lap still are the 85 of Gil Gawk and Randall Falks, and Gawk currently occupies the 9th position. And he would be the next car to be lapped by Nathan Rue, who is still circulating now at the base of the S's tunnel.
Yeah, as Gawk just clearing the S's now. That's how much of a lead, Nathan Rue has on some of these guys. And I thought originally that he was having tire fall off. No, he's been hanging in there, consistently running those 16, the high 16s, low 17s. And I'm thinking that he's gone into tire conservation mode. He's going to try to make this set of tires last as long as he can.
Now, I've noticed something, and I want to see if you've noticed this as well. A lot of the ovals that we've gone to, say Rockingham, for instance, your time on the fresh tires is around a 22-second lap, just for a number. I believe that's somewhat close. After about 10 to 15 laps, those times fall off by about 2 seconds, and then they just kind of stay there. I don't know, is that just an effect of the tire, or is that the car, or the setups, or what could that possibly be, if you've noticed that?
That is 100% the tires. With these old bias ply tires, they're night and day different between a used set and a new set. The newer sets, they don't have as much fall off in them as the older bias plies like we're running tonight have in them. It's just the nature of the beast, and the tire fall off is something you've got to manage. There's going to come a point where yes, everybody, wow, that was a hit.
Who was that? I missed that.
The 23 of Wilkie, I believe.
I was going to say, I saw somebody going off at, he pulled a Jimmy Johnson, I think, is what happened here.
That's exactly what he did. Complete wheel hop and just pancake the left side of that car.
Yeah, there.
But, the tire fall off is just, it gets to a certain point, and then, you have what you have.
And to me, it's very odd to see. Like, I understand the tire fall off and how quickly that these tires can degrade, but I think, what was it? We saw, it was probably about 100-lap run at Rockingham earlier this year for the second race of the season. And they started on at 22 seconds. After about 15 to 20 laps, they fell down to the 25-second bracket. And then they stayed in that low 25-second bracket for the remainder of the life of the tire. So that's the part that puzzles me, is how quickly they fall off. And then for the rest of the run, it just sort of levels off, and they don't seem to get much slower.
Well, there used to be a phrase that Richard Petty used to use, and he called it wearing the goodie off the tire. With these old bias plies, there is a layer of rubber that it's the best rubber you're going to get out of that tire. And then everything else is made out of the rest of the rubber. It's a slightly different compound. There's an outer layer that's a slightly different compound that's going to give you the best grip possible for a short amount of time. And then you get into basically the rest of the tire, that this is the performance of that part of the tire, and that's it.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Thank you for explaining that to me the way you did. That's tires for dummies, and that's exactly what I needed. Thank you, Tony.
Well, can you explain it to me? Because I just confused the hell out of myself saying that.
Oh, boy. Still, we are working lap 25, about to start lap 26. The top three have not come in. Randall Fawkes right now is currently sitting in fourth position. He is the first of the cars that have come into pit. He's just hit the top of the S's and is on the long back straightaway now. That would equate to being about 34 seconds off the race lead. Sitting in fifth position is Tommy Harris. And there we go. There is Nathan Rue coming into the pits.
Rue blinks and hands the lead of the race over to Sweeting. And you got to feel for Rue right now, because that is the worst feeling on the planet, to have to drive down this pit road at, I believe it's 45 miles an hour, and try to hit your pit stall as you're entering the downhill.
Yeah, and he's got the very first pit stall, which if you look, and the 15 is in as well, the first two pit stalls are a different surface than the rest of the pit boxes. So you're also braking on two different surfaces, and do not take that lightly. That is a major difference as to how much brake you apply and when you apply it.
Absolutely, and like we were talking earlier, these guys have to run so much rear brake bias to get these cars to turn that it's very easy to swap ends.
Without a doubt, is Chandler Rubik in and out as well. Chuck Sweeting now going through the final corner, going very slowly through the final corner, and he is going to be coming in. So now Chuck Sweeting in the 54 comes in. I believe Tommy Harris might be the only one left that has not pit, and he's currently running in fifth. He has come into pit, Tony. Sam is telling me. Brian Bennett in the 3 is the only one that has not come into the pit yet, currently sitting in ninth position, the last car on the lead lap in that Wrangler number 3. So we're going to see Randall Fawkes right now has taken the lead. So that was, to put it mildly, that was an extreme undercut from the 51, and that has put him at the top of the timing pylon, and by quite a decent margin.
That's impressive. Now the question is, with Rue and Sweeting on fresh tires, what's going to happen now, as Sweeting comes out right behind Falk?
Hearing Tim Marlowe has had an issue somewhere on circuit. Oh,
Got it all wrong in the penultimate.
Yeah, that penultimate corner has caught a lot of drivers out. Overcooks it, tries to stay on the asphalt, and just couldn't do it.
Well, the thing is, and most people don't realize this about Watkins Glen, and I had to actually explain it to a crew chief one day. Watkins Glen isn't really let me rephrase it. The course we're running right now, this course at Watkins Glen, is not truly a road course in the purest sense of the term.
No.
What you're looking at, ladies and gentlemen, is actually an elevation changing reverse oval with one left turn.
Yeah, just about.
Because you figure you go into turn one, that's a right-hand turn. Then you go through the S's. You come out of the S's, it's a right-hand turn. Go down the back chute. What do you go into? The carousel, which is a right-hand turn.
Yeah.
Then you go into the penultimate corner, which is the...
Sorry to cut you off there, but Falks got the entry to the carousel all wrong, and the leader put it wide in the carousel.
That's going to let Nathan Rue reel him in a ton.
And Rue has caught him by about 3 seconds in this past lap. He being Falks was 10 seconds ahead of Nathan Rue the last time they hit the line. 2 laps ago, pardon me. Now he's the last time they hit the line on lap 27. Rue was only 8 seconds behind, and right now the gap is down to 4.1. So it is on between these three.
Absolutely, and you know the reason why we're seeing all this issue going into the carousel and the issue going into the different corners is these cars don't like to turn.
No.
Period.
Oh, we've seen that all night.
And it's going to be real interesting when we start going to the short tracks like Bristol, Martinsville,
North Wilkesboro,
North Wilkesboro.
Next week.
Yeah, North Wilkesboro next week. That's going to be a great race.
Yeah.
But these cars don't like to turn, so you're seeing guys having to adjust their brake bias mid-corner to get the car to actually slow down and then turn.
As we see the top one start become a top 3 here right before our very eyes, and we've seen it as well. You were saying these cars don't want to turn. They don't want to turn when you want them to turn. When they don't want you to turn, they're kicking the back end out every chance they get.
True story. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about 700 horsepower being put through an 8-inch wide tire.
Yeah, that's
not something that you would normally try to do.
No, it's not. It would not be advisable, I would say.
Well, it's definitely not the recipe you would want for a drag racing car, that's for sure.
No, without a doubt, it is not. As I believe Nathan Rue last lap took a 1.5 seconds, and Falks blows the carousel for the second time in 3 laps, and that could be tires, because he's been on that set of tires, I believe, for somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 laps.
No, that wasn't tires. That was pure brake fade right there.
And he's been pushing that number 51 Exxon Chevrolet hard. Now again, he won 2 weeks ago at Michigan. The top 3 here all have wins. Falks at Michigan, Rue at Daytona to open up the season, and Chuck Sweeting just last week at Darlington. So of the 3, Rue has been the one on the longest dry spell here. Oh, and there goes Falks again in 1.
Absolutely, as I just caught a bad one between Gil Galk and Tim Marlowe. Marlowe's car is just destroyed.
Tim Marlowe in the 28, he was several laps down. Currently 2 laps down. Well, it's several.
And we've got a new leader.
Yeah, we do. That's the 25 of Nathan Rue getting around, as well as Chuck Sweeting. So those two, wow, Chuck Sweeting lit it up coming out of the carousel. He is pushing that number 54 Chevrolet for all it's worth.
Yeah, he jumped on the loud pedal, and he was lucky that car didn't swap ends on him, as he's doing everything he can to make sure that if Randall Falk does win this race, he's going to have to earn it the hard way.
But Nathan Rue.
Nathan Rue. If Nathan Rue wins this race, he's going to have to earn it the hard way, because your points leader, Chuck Sweeting, does not want to give up that points lead.
Oh, I couldn't imagine, as this is the first race of the second half of the season. 5 races down, and after this, well, including this one, 5 races to go. Watkins Glen, North Wilkesboro, Bristol, Talladega, and Martinsville. The remaining tracks on the Season 1 calendar here for the Die Hard Racing League.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh, with short tracks, super speedway, short track, I couldn't imagine anything going wrong. I couldn't imagine Felix getting hurt, and Rue just slid out of the carousel as well. It just goes to show how hard both of these guys are pushing, and how hard Sweeting is forcing Rue to push.
And it's about to get interesting, because they're getting into lap traffic right now, as I believe that's the 20 of Bruce Pearson right in front of them.
Yes, it is. They have the 17 of John Schultz in front of them, and then beyond that is the 3 of Brian Bennett, who is the last car on the lead lap, currently occupying the 9th position. The battle for the lead here is what you're seeing, and it is the closest battle on track. 1 and 2 separated by just that much. Beyond that, third place Randall Falks has fallen off of this pair, 2.5 seconds behind the leader Nathan Rue. A further 7.5 seconds behind Falks is Chandler Rubeck, as this is about to get dicey here going into the carousel. 3 wide, both 1 and 2 split the middle, and everyone makes it through okay somehow.
That had 8 different kinds of poorly written all over it.
It did.
How they made it through there, I'll never know.
I have no clue. Great defensive driving by the 17 and the 23, I guess we'll call it. As now here is Brian
hang
Bennett.
on to her.
My goodness. 17 sliding through the back. Cars sliding everywhere here in the last sector of this track.
Yeah, Chuck Sweeting was on a slide for life coming through the left-hander.
He was as well. I think everybody in frame slid there.
Yeah.
My goodness. Gwen Havens in the 22. Back there in 13th position. He just had a moment. Overshooting the carousel. We've seen that once or twice here this evening already. Oh boy. As Rue continues to lead here.
And Havens loops it again. Caught on the curbing there going into Flannel Corner. Finally gets free.
He's had a bad night. Gwen Havens currently sitting in 13th, 2 laps down, with multiple incidents on his name tonight. And that's not saying anything bad about Gwen Havens at all. That is just, it's the nature of the beast around these road courses. Sometimes you push a little too hard, you put a wheel over, and off you go.
Yeah, especially this road course, because this thing is not easy to get around, even in the best of cars.
And it's a very quick road course with a lot of those overtaking opportunities that you see are into very tight 90-degree corners. You see that all over the world of motorsports, and this track is no different. But there are a lot of long, fast straightaways that lead into those tight braking and passing zones that make this place a very, very difficult challenge, no matter what car you're in.
Absolutely. As Chuck Sweeting right now in the draft of Nathan Rue, just I think Sweeting's toying with Rue. I honestly do. Just the fact that he's got the speed, but he's sitting right there where Rue's going to be seeing him in his mirror, and he's trying to force Rue to make a mistake.
Proper stalking right now from the 54 of Chuck Sweeting. Coming now around the final corner. We have 5 laps to go.
6.
Well, no, now we're coming to 5 laps to go. We have
6 laps to go, sir.
See, I know math. All right. You know what?
New York State Common Core, thank you very much.
Yep, there it is. Well, I graduated high school in California, so that's
even worse. Anyways, Nathan Rue continuing to show the way. Chuck Sweeting sits in second. Randall Falks holding down a solid third place right now.
And he's 4 seconds behind the leader, Nathan Rue, but he still has a good 7-second cushion back to Chandler Rubick, who sits in 4th. A further 12 seconds to Tommy Harris, who occupies the 5th and final spot in the top 5, as you would imagine. Another 8 seconds back to Corey Brown in 6th. Jeremy Johnston in 7th. Gil Gawk, who these leaders are coming up on, is 8th and the final car on the lead lap. Right now, Brian Bennett, Kevin Turkett sitting in 9th and 10th. Those guys are 1 lap down. 2 laps down, Bruce Pearson, John Schultz sitting 11th and 12th. 13th is Gwen Havens, 3 laps down. 14th, Tim Marlowe, 4 laps down. Marcus Wilkie, the last car running, in 15th, 6 laps down. James Hollins and Victor Jennings have both called it evenings and are currently occupying the 16th and 17th positions. Thank you, Sam. It's 5 laps to go now. As up the hill, I mentioned it earlier on in the race, Chuck Sweeting has found a way to get up that hill that Nathan Rue has not found, and he is right on Rue again.
Well, the trick to getting up that hill is getting down the hill after the start-finish line and into turn 1 better than anyone else, and that's where you're going to see Sweeting really make up his time. He's figured something out in turn 1 that has paid massive dividends going into the S's.
And it's not even just going into the S's. Also, that run goes all the way from turn 1 down to the carousel as we make it out of the final corner here, coming to 4 laps to go. No objections to 4 laps to go now? Okay, thank you.
No, you're good.
As Rue and Sweeting go into turn 1 again, this is the closest battle on track. Barring any mistakes,
Rue shoots it wide.
Goes wide through turn 1. That allows Sweeting right onto the back of him, going through the S's. But unfortunately for Sweeting, nowhere to pass until the carousel.
But he needed to make up that ground. Now he's got the draft off of Rue down the long chute, and he can try to outbrake him. It doesn't look like he's going to try it yet.
No, that's one of those things where if you're going to do it, it's got to be on the last lap, because you know if Sweeting passes Rue right now, Rue is going to use the bumper to get back around him, and you just want to take away that chance if you're Chuck Sweeting to leave the move as late as possible as we go through the penultimate corner here. 1 and 2, right nose to tail, line of stern, coming through the final corner.
As Nathan Rue brings us under the flagger stand to start 3 to go.
Randall
Chuck
Falks.
Sweeting's still all over him. I mean, this is... I never would have guessed we would have had a battle like this all race long.
And it's also worth mentioning, Randall Falks is just 5 seconds behind these guys and closing in by about a 10th or so a lap. If these two go off, say in the carousel on the final lap, Randall Falks is in prime position to steal a win here.
Absolutely, and that's the racing that you generally do see here at Watkins Glen. There was a while there, Frank, as I'm sure you remember, that Watkins Glen some of the finishes here got voted best finishes of the year by the
that
fans.
might have done Sweeting in right there.
There it is.
That was the one mistake that Chuck Sweeting could not afford to make, getting into the grass and the exit of the carousel. As there's a car stopped, there's two cars stopped. It's the 84 of Turkett was stopped at the exit there. And let's see what happened here. Turkett outbrakes himself going into the penultimate corner. Oh, no, he doesn't outbrake himself. He loses it. Oh! Ouch.
Ouch.
And then behind
that was
him,
a
Wilkie,
bad one. But
and then behind him, Wilkie blows the corner completely.
Popsicle sticks in the air. Nathan Rue making his way down the back chute right now. Chuck Sweeting trying to reel him in. 1.25 seconds behind him. Sweeting's got to hope for Rue to make a mistake right now. That's about the only chance he's got.
That is, and there are multiple chances around this track to make a mistake, and Sweeting still pushing hard, just about clipping the grass again, coming out of the carousel and down that straightaway. You can see Randall Falk still looming in the back, just in case something does happen to the front two. As Rue comes through the final corner for the second to last time, white flag is in the air here at Watkins Glen. And the first race of the second half of this season has one lap remaining in it.
And I'm hearing over the driver chatter, I think Corey Brown just got Nate Seifert. For those of you who follow the rest of our broadcast, you'll understand the joke. As Nathan Rue takes the white flag, Chuck Sweeting got about 2 miles to get it sorted out right now, as Rue's still in command.
Yes, Sweeting pushing really hard at the top of the hill. That's widest we've seen him on the back straight, going onto the back straightaway. We've seen all
hang
race.
On to her.
My goodness, there's a lot happening still all over this track, but it's not going to matter much more as Nathan Rue hits the second to last corner. Still a decent amount away from Chuck Sweeting. He was the favorite going in. A lot of his title contenders not here this evening, but Chuck Sweeting gave him everything he could handle and more, but comes out victorious for the first time since Daytona. Nathan Rue wins at Watkins Glen.
Chuck Sweeting hanging out for second. Randall Falk still hanging out for third. As here comes Chandler Rubik for fourth, and we're still waiting on fifth. Looks like it's going to be the 8 of Tommy Harris as he comes out of turn number 7 right now.
Yeah, Harris is going to cross the line right now as the top 5 is set. Corey Brown with a very damaged front end coming through the final set of corners now. He will come home in 6th position, and I believe the last man to finish this race, certainly the last man to finish this race on the lead lap, but the last man to take the checkered flag will be Jeremy Johnston, coming home in 7th.
No, sir. There's actually 2 more still getting ready to cross right now. Tim Marlowe
and Turkett.
And Glenn Havens.
Yeah, Turkett just crossing now. There's Marlowe and Havens in the background. So Havens will be Marlowe, will be the last one.
Marlowe would be the last car still running to finish this one. Marcus Wilkie put it on the hauler early. James Collins put it on the hauler early, and Victor Jennings put it on the hauler early.
So that's your final finishing position. We'll try to get the interviews to go from 3 to 1 here. So Randall Falks, Chuck Sweeting, and Nathan Rue will be in here shortly as we Watch
Randall
Nathan
Fulch
Rue.
just disconnected.
As we watch Nathan Rue on the front straightaway. So we'll bring in, so we'll go from 1 to 3. So we'll bring Nathan Rue in here as Tony. We'll let you interview the winner here tonight.
Nathan Rue put up one hell of a drive. You were the class of the field all night, and I don't think you put a tire wrong all night, sir.
Yeah, we had a really good race there. I love this track. I couldn't wait to get here. And but Chuck, man, he kept us honest, man. He really kept the pressure on. Randall tried a little different strategy that I thought was going to work pretty well. I don't know if some lap traffic or something got out there, but all in all, a great race. And just congrats to everybody, and congrats to Chuck and Randall on podium too, because they ran real well.
Absolutely. Now, we were talking about how these tires seem to there's the goodie on them, then they fall off, and then they kind of level out. Talk us through how that affected how you had to attack this course tonight.
I'll be honest, the tires, our car was really well on tire wear. Of course, you have the fall off, but we were really questioning not taking tires there because it's such a long time to change tires in these cars. You're looking at a 20-second pit stop in the box alone, and but we were kind of monitoring lap times there and seeing what was happening. I was hoping Chuck would kind of go first and see what he did, but we had to pull the trigger there, and I just thought that would probably be the best bet is to get those fresh tires, and luckily it worked out for us.
Fair enough. And no, we also noticed that a lot of guys were having trouble getting into the one left-hander on the track. Now, was that due to how much brake bias you generally have to run in these cars to get them to turn?
Yeah, it's something that I adjusted a lot during the race, as the tires wear and go on. But I'm not sure if that's 10 or 11, whatever it is, the left-hander before the last corner. There's some banking down on the bottom, and if you get up, a lane high right there, you kind of straddling that banking, and when you do that, you start picking up that left front. So it's a really critical line you got to get through there to make that work. And to really set the car up to get through there right, it can really hinder one. We started getting really tight in one. I thought Chuck was going to get us there for a minute. But we tried to back the corner down and just really get off the brake and let it roll through that corner so we wouldn't be so tight. And luckily, it worked out.
Absolutely. Well, moving forward, the series moves to North Wilkesboro next week. Your thoughts going to the historic track that is the North Wilkesboro Motor Speedway?
Yeah, that's going to be a really tight track. I think you're going to see a lot of fender rubbing there, a lot of old school racing. But to win at North Wilkesboro, I think everybody in this league is probably going to want to say they've won at Wilkesboro. I mean, we all know how prestigious that is. I mean, you're in Junior Johnson country up there, and hopefully we can go in there with some speed. We've struggled a little on the short tracks. I felt like we've had the speed. We just had some bad luck there. But we're going to try to put us something together and keep the momentum going and see if we can't go over there and have some speed too. But that's going to be a really fun race. I think you'll see a lot of beating and banging.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Well, Nathan, anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, Summit Sim Racing, all the guys there, Randall, Tim, John, Jeremy, everybody that helps out. And I know I'm forgetting a few. Congrats to Chandler tonight. He had a great run too, and first run of the season, but Chandler run real well. And as always, thanks ESPN. You guys do phenomenal broadcasts. I can't wait to go watch it. So just thank everybody for coming out.
Well, congratulations again on the win, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
it. So that was your race winner, Nathan Rue. And before we bring in Chuck Sweeting, it has been incredible to watch Nathan Rue all season long, apart from the one race that he had at Rockingham when he had the wrong setup in at Rockingham. He has been up at or near the front every single race this season. It's been incredible to watch. But we bring in now our second place finisher, Chuck Sweeting. And Chuck, it was one mistake with 3 laps to go, and unfortunately that was the unraveling.
Yeah, I kept waiting for Nathan to make a mistake all race long and try to capitalize on it. He never did, and I just was pushing so hard at the end and got off track a couple times. And you got to try to go for it. But congrats to him on an awesome race. It was I'm kind of shocked that I was able to run that well actually, but I found a lot of stuff in practice with the setup with some shocks that made the left-handers work really well, and it's a little bit too stiff in the front end, so I kind of lost the front end late in the run, and that's kind of what hurt me there. Maybe I should have short pitted or something, tried to get ahead of him, but either way, it's a good race, and second place isn't too bad.
Now that's what I was going to ask you. A lot of people say that Darlington, it's a very tough track to run. You almost have to run it like a road course. Did winning at Darlington kind of help build your confidence? Winning at a very tricky track like Darlington and then coming to another tricky track, a road course here at Watkins Glen?
No, not really. I really didn't have any confidence coming in here. I was hoping to come out of here with a top 5. That would have been like a win to me. So I'm very surprised that I was competitive tonight, and because road courses aren't really my thing. So I'm usually middle of the pack somewhere in most of the races I run. But I put in a lot of time and effort this week, so it paid off.
It definitely showed. And we go to a little bit more of a normal track. A throwback series goes to a throwback track next week with going to North Wilkesboro. I'm sure you've got to be looking forward to go into Wilkesboro.
Oh yeah, that track is such a blast. It's so unique, and building a setup might be a little bit tricky, but we should run pretty well there. I've run quite a few races there in this car and then the Cup car, trucks, Xfinity car, and every one of them has been fun. It's a very unique track, a lot of fun, and I don't know, we might bang a little bit of fenders or something, but it's going to be a fun, and it should be a very exciting race to watch.
Does it change the way you go into that race, knowing that you are the points leader?
No, not at all. We'll try to go there with the fastest car we can, and try to run up front and lead as many laps, and maybe bring home a win, just like any other race.
All right. Anything and any shout outs you want to give before we let you go?
Just always a shout out to my teammate Gil for the work he does with the setups, and thanks to Summit for helping with the league and putting the series on.
All right, your second place finisher here tonight, Chuck Sweeting. Congratulations.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, so that was again your second place finisher, Chuck Sweeting. Randall Falks not available for the interview as far as we could tell. So unfortunately, we will not be able to hear from our third place finisher. But Tony, quick race, little battles here and there, but to have that constant fight for the lead the entire night made it an absolutely fantastic race.
Because Watkins Glen, that's all I can say about this place.
Exactly.
I love this track. It's our home track, being as you and I are both from New York State.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, stock car fans up in Yankee country. As we used to say whenever I'd come here as a kid for the races, we went camping and a race broke out.
It's a fantastic race here too every year. Not just NASCAR, but all the races that come here. The 6 hours at the Glen, which unfortunately can't happen this year, and the Cup cars would have been here this weekend in real life if everything had been normal.
Yeah, you've got the Go Bowling at the Glen that unfortunately is going to Daytona this week. You've got the Sailing 6 hours at the Glen that used to happen every year. Now that's being moved, I believe, to Road Atlanta.
I think that's right. Yes.
And but on top of that, you also have a ton of SCCA, NASA, just different sanctioning bodies have this track all year long. And if you really want to go to and see some awesome racing, awesome cars, and awesome people, go to the historic weekend at the Glen if you ever get a chance, ladies and gentlemen. You owe it to yourself. And you can, and guys, you tell your wife you're taking her to wine country of Central New York. You take her on a wine tour on like Thursday, and then you spend the rest of the weekend at the track.
Yeah, you got your wine tasting. I got my race. We're all happy. So that will, I think that will wrap it up for us here tonight at Watkins Glen. We do apologize for the issues at the beginning of the podcast that kind of delayed it. We got you in for the start, literally as the race was starting, which is always our goal here.
I blame Comcast.
I blame Optimum. So, but in any event, we will be back bringing you regularly scheduled racing from practice all the way to the finish next week for certain at North Wilkesboro. So for our producer tonight, Sam Cooper Bennett, and for Tony Trapasso, I'm Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for joining us here, and we will see you all next week from North Wilkesboro right here on ESPN.
Good night, everybody.